Hello everyone. So today I want to talk about intuition and to try and explain better what really is intuition and to what extent you can and you should push it. Things may not make sense or they could feel wrong at a logical level in a way that can seem extremely clear. Like that option is clearly wrong. It doesn't make sense. But you don't, when you say that, it doesn't come from you. You're not thinking it is obviously wrong. You just, because it actually feels right, but you're analyzing it logically, and you could have like a bunch of criteria and saying, according to this, that's the best option, not that one. According to this other criteria, that's also the best option and not the other one. And yet it's taking you forever to make that decision. And the reason why that is because your intuition, which is an extremely powerful tool that we all have, and it's really has been totally kind of ignored, mostly for the huge part of history and in modern science. And yet, your intuition is basically pulling you towards the option that logically, technically seems absolutely wrong. And I always believed this, but I didn't know to what extent you can push this. So I always, people say, well, you should make decisions based partly on your gut feelings and your intuition, partly on logic and rational thinking. And I thought that was right. And it kind of isn't, essentially, because your intuition is a tool that is unbelievably more powerful than whatever rational, logical thing. And the reason why you're spending ages deciding something when all of the evidence points towards one direction and you're still not going for it, most likely is because your intuition already knows something that you don't. Obviously, so I don't know what kind of person you are, but if you have been following my channel for a while, chances are you are a spiritually aware person. In which case, you already are familiar with notions like higher self and the fact there are different vibrations within us. There is a lot of stuff we're not conscious of, and there is a higher self, which is basically someone like the being we are supposed to be, the being we are meant to become. And they know stuff that we don't. And so there are a lot of different layers of interpretation, like from the very basic animal ones to the bigger picture. And your intuition functions based on that, based on the bigger picture. It's connected to your higher self, it's connected to source, it's connected to the universe. So it knows stuff that you don't, because you're still operating with your background, with your baggage, with your luggage of the notions that you have been taught, essentially, the way you have learned how to operate, like because of your family, school, society, whatever. And I guess the point here is that recent events in my life have finally convinced me 100% to let go of fear, because that's basically what it is, right? When you are like feeling a lot of fear, you are there trying to technically analyze whether your decision is correct or not, because there is this pull and there is this, you kind of stuck, you want to do it, but I mean that's super risky. And then you read like information or testimonials, or you're trying, basically what you're trying to do is to gather evidence to support, and the evidence is actually not supporting what you're trying to do, but that's the wrong evidence that you're looking for. The real evidence should be, first of all, within you, the feeling, the intuitive feeling that you have, and then is little subtle signs that oftentimes come, and they can be extremely subtle. Trying to think of some examples. It could be that something isn't working, let's say this way, like you're supposed to book and have a chat with someone before you can go for the rational option, and that person is not replying, that isn't working, or it's getting too expensive, or those are like subtle things that basically should be telling you that in that option it's not meant for you, even though logically and rationally it seems like it's the correct one. In my example, before I launched this channel and before I started like training as a therapist and as a life coach. I spent ages, like, because rationally, well, that didn't make much sense. It's super scary. It's like I shouldn't do it. I'm not ready. I should be readier. And there are lots of other options. And I got a master in economics, and I should exploit that. I have transferable skills, and I could do that. I could be, and I still am, like an online teacher and a translator. And I could work as a policy analyst, whatever, remotely part-time, blah, blah, blah. All that was like much safer, makes a lot of sense, and and lots of other stuff around this. But the universe didn't want me to do that stuff. It just didn't want. And everything in the real me, I think that's an important point too. The real me didn't want that either. I was just doing that out of fear and out of the logical, rational mind, because it says you need to have a plan, you need to strategize, you need to assess your strengths, your weaknesses, and blah, blah, blah. All of the rational crap that we are taught. And truth is that it had been 2 years that life had consistently sent me my way the message: that's your call, that's your purpose, that's your joy, that's what you have to offer to humanity. So just go and do it, because that's also what you want. I'm not just pushing you to do shit you don't want to do. It's also something that will give you happiness and joy. And all of the things that you're telling yourself that you can't, and blah, 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 and because, and I can get that, and those are just limiting beliefs. And in the past, when I made a decision, I'm not going to get into the details because it's part of my personal life. I don't think it will be helpful to share that. But I made a decision that was rationally, logically going to make me lose a lot of money. Was going to make me earn zero money and make me use a lot of money. Besides being totally against what my subconscious beliefs were, the way I was nurtured and taught in my life. It went against the core values, not of me or the beliefs, let's say. Core values and beliefs are not the same. The beliefs of someone else that have been passed down to me. So I made the decision for my own well-being, for my own good, thinking I would be losing lots of money. During that year, I made 40K. I didn't do shit. I didn't work. Actually, I did work a lot inside on myself. An amazing energy therapist from the US told me, please be aware that the work you're doing right now is enormous. You're doing amazing work. Even though it's not monetized outside, it's fantastic work. That's all she told me. She didn't tell me you're gonna receive that money abundant, nothing. That's all she told me. She told me, be aware and be proud that the work you're doing yourself is amazing, and it's a lot, even though it's not monetized in our society. That year, going into the direction that logically should have made me lose money, I made 40K. I didn't make that money working my ass off as an economist for 5 years before that. And this is happening again. And this time I'm gonna trust it. This time I'm gonna fucking trust it. Okay? And the same applies to you or to anybody else in lots of different situations. There is a guy on Gaia, I don't know if you heard of that, who basically said that at some point in his life he started basically just following his intuition. No matter how crazy or insane that was, the stuff that the messages he was receiving from his own intuition, he would just follow that. He would just do that. I think that's amazing. I think that's amazing, and there is no way that doesn't lead to amazing things. Because that's exactly how we're supposed to live. It takes a while.